Can you be delusional, lie to yourself, and still create great work? So that goes against most thoughts on confidence, right? Last week, for the first time, I listened to Paul Graham's How to Do Great Work, which is about an hour-long essay that goes into exactly the title suggests, how to do great work. So what I love about Paul Graham's writing is that it's all very simple, but it really lets the idea shine through that. In case you never read any of his writing, I know him from being an investor in Y Combinator. He actually founded that, but previously started other companies, writes many articles on his website, and each one of them is brilliant. I'm in the process right now of slowly working through and listening to all of them, well, and reading them. But there's actually a cool YouTube channel that has an AI version of his voice, and I'll list the how to do great work down in the description. But it makes it easy to especially like just some of these topics initially. So I really like listening to it and then going back there and reading it, especially because he's talking about some very big ideas in some of these. And how to do great work, I could listen to that probably 5, 10 times, read it a couple times as well, and still be pulling nuggets out of that because every sentence was bringing up an idea. But one of the ones that stuck with me, and there's a handful, and I'm gonna be making some other videos on these. But one of the ones was the case for lying to yourself, because normally when we think about lying to yourself, and it's really the thing that destroys your confidence. Like I know that's what it was for me for many years. Is you tell yourself you're going to the gym, you don't end up going to the gym, and next thing like you don't even believe your own words. So clearly the simplest way of gaining confidence is just following through with your word. And there's a quote from, I actually found this the other day in not Ryan Holiday's newsletter, Billy Oppenheimer's newsletter. But he was quoting Ryan Holiday, and so it's kind of a mixture quote between Ryan Holiday and Billy Oppenheimer, kind of bringing ideas together. But how it goes is when you tell yourself you're going to get up early, eat better, walk more, scroll less, pick up a hobby, drop a hobby, or hit a self-imposed deadline, these small tests are more consequential than we like to think. Ryan writes, they confirm more and more what kind of person you are. The kind of person who's disciplined, trustworthy, reliable, productive, or prolific, at their core are the same thing. The kind of person who keeps their word. And from my experience and from what I've seen, what I've read, confidence really comes from that. Like keeping your word, especially to yourself. Obviously, building a reputation, building a brand, like as far as you keeping your word to the people around you, then an audience, and I mean, truly, that's what a brand is at the end of the day, like trust, being outside yourself. But that's what stood out when Paul Graham said to lie to yourself. And so, a little excerpt from How to Do Great Work is, it's usually a mistake to lie to yourself. If you want to do great work, take that back. It's usually a mistake to lie to yourself if you want to do great work. But this is one of the rare cases where it isn't. When I'm reluctant to start in the morning, I often trick myself by saying, I'll just read over what I've got so far. 5 minutes later, I found something that seems mistaken or incomplete, and I'm off. And I thought that was a brilliant insight. Because most of the time, 99% of the cases, when you're lying to yourself, it's for the negative. It ends up ruining your confidence, but it's almost like these little lies to yourself in the right direction can build your confidence, and it's like two conflicting ideas working together. But I find myself doing this all the time in daily life. Like the second I heard this, I started picking up on all the times I was doing it. For instance, Howler, amazing book by John Gwynne. It's a pretty big one. My goal is just to read a certain number of pages each day, 30 pages, so that way like, I'm consistently just pushing forward. And it doesn't take me 2, 3, 4 months to read it. But I notice sometimes, like since there's a lot to it, it's a pretty dense book. It takes me a little bit to get into it, and so I just tell myself I'm gonna read 2, 3 pages, or just read the next page, and next thing you know, I've read 30, 40, 50 pages in a day, and it's like, oh shoot, what happened there? But then the same thing goes in with the work I'm doing, and it's like there's some things I really like doing, like especially on the creative side, and I just kind of gravitate towards that. But then there's other, not it's boring work, sending certain emails. It's just I don't like it. Who does? But at the end of the day, it has to be done, has to move the ball forward. And I would notice I would be literally just lying to myself. Let me just open up the email, see what they have, and it's like, oh, I can start the response. Or okay, let me just take a look at what last week's numbers were. I'll put them down. And then you got the things you don't want to get done. And it's like interesting. Interesting part of human psychology how those lies almost build up your confidence where the other ones don't. And it's just got me more intentional about how I could lie to myself. Which is a weird idea to think of because normally I'm trying to keep my word with myself, build more confidence. But how could I start lying to myself to just get the ball rolling? Because it's like momentum, like pushing that snowball down the hill and then it slowly builds up into something bigger. There's things I need to do. How can I lie to myself quicker to start that momentum building and then just let the momentum take it from there? It's kind of interesting, right? You can almost weaponize your own psychology for good. But then taking this to a farther scale, on Zach Pogrob's newsletter the other week, this was a quote from Tyler Bruno. He posted it on his one of his 10 bullets. So how it goes is being delusional sounds bad, right? Who wants to be delusional in the first place? In reality, being delusional is one of the single greatest things you can do in life. Without a sprinkle of delusion, we mentally lock ourselves away from ever reaching our true potential. We question ourselves, we doubt ourselves, and we think, I'm not able to do what these other people are doing. It's a myth, it's a lie, don't fall for it. The people who are considered the greats had an immense amount of delusion. And so it really had me thinking is, and does this delusion almost come from a place of lying to yourself in the beginning? Truly do something great? I have no track record for doing something great. So it's almost like I have to imagine in my mind, lie to myself that I am that person, and then slowly become that person over time. Again, like that snowball starting at the top, where you kind of start up here with your little snowball and push it down with a little lie, and then let it build into something bigger. I'm not quite sure, but it's an interesting thought. Because on a small scale, what Paul Graham's talking about, like he built the momentum throughout the day, but on the larger scale, truly like delusional level lies, where are we imagining ourselves wanting to go? Where are we visualizing? Does it sound delusional? Because if it doesn't sound delusional, it's probably not a big enough dream. And it really seems like a lot of the greats in history have had that delusion at some point. And it really has to be something where what I think crosses over from the lie to delusion is where you believe that lie so much where it becomes a delusion. Because you believe it's reality or reality hasn't caught up yet. Because I know if I had started my journey like, trying to think of myself something realistic, when I first started becoming an entrepreneur, I thought I was going to be a millionaire in a month. Maybe taking my time, make it 3 months. I'm not sure if I would be at this point right now without that delusion. Truthfully, I did not know it was going to take years and so many skills to build up and just feeling like you're getting kicked in the nuts all the time some days. Or just some periods. I'm not sure if I knew the reality, if me back then would have done that. Like me today likes to think I would, but me back then, I don't know if I would have done that. It's almost like that lie to myself, the delusion of thinking it was going to happen so quickly, it got that snowball going and allowed it to turn into something bigger. And there's still a level of that delusion now, where I understand it's a longer time horizon. I'm willing to play on that 5, 10, 15-year time horizon, but even that, there's probably a certain level of delusion there. Not a certain level. There is a level of delusion there that I believe it's going to happen sooner. That I believe how big that vision's going to be one day. But that's just a thought. Just kind of tying together the ideas of confidence, lying to yourself, letting that lie turn into absolute delusion. So I guess, how delusional are you?